Amma ba'du. This is our last session concerning the Nabi Rahmah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, some of the practical examples of how the Nabi dealt with different people from the different categories of the Islamic society. We're going to deal now in this last session with what has been called the bondsman. The bondsman in this case is the slave boy or the slave girl, the slave man or the slave woman. And no doubt the previous talks have been dealing with people who are in his society, and they are in our society as well. The bondsman or the slave is not in our society. Slavery is an issue in Islam that has its ahkam, and it has something that we need to learn about it. And one of the things we need to know is that we need to be careful about these issues, because just as the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people have the wrong opinion about him, because a lot of times Muslims don't know how to defend him with knowledge. They bring shubahat. He got married to a young girl, so that's pedophile. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam did certain things that are in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim that non-Muslims bring out, and we don't know how to answer those issues, so it's a problem. And one of these issues is this: Al-Islam, it allows slavery. There are ayat of the Quran that allow slavery. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, he had slaves, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had 4 women slaves, and he had a number of men slaves as well. All of them, he freed them eventually before he died, but that's a fact. So I know in America, the Afrocentric people into black pride, where we come from, our forefathers. Some of them say that Al-Islam enslaved black people. That's a shubha that those people have. So if a person doesn't know how to push those claims back with knowledge, he'll be on the back foot. He'll be on the defensive. Slavery in Al-Islam is not synonymous with any color of people. Black people do not equal slavery in Al-Islam. So we have to get that picture of roots out of our minds. Arabs can be slaves, white people can be slaves, and other than that. But there's no slavery now. And we're not telling anyone that there's slavery now. What we're trying to do is show you and deal with these people, because they don't have anyone to help them. They don't have anyone to help them. And the society back then, during the time of the Nabi, they had no rights whatsoever. There's a hadith where he encouraged the men, and he said to the men, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inni uharrijukum haqq al-da'ifain, al-yatim wal-mar'a. He said, I want you men to be sensitive. I want you men to pay attention. I want you men to be agitated about giving the rights to the 2 weak people, the 2 weak categories of my ummah. And then he told them they were the yatim, the orphan. He's da'if and he's madloom. The yatim is the one who his father is not on the scene. His father is dead. So he's yatim. If something happens to my son and he said, I'm getting bullied at school, the teacher hit me, someone did this, someone did that, I'm going to be in that school early Monday morning. I'm going to be in the school the very day my kid tells me that. I'm going to contact those people in that school to deal with it, because I'm there to defend my son. But if the boy is an orphan, a yatim, his own relatives would oppress him. So he told the people, be sensitive, be aware of the haqq of the yatim. The second person he said is the woman. The woman is madluma. Somali woman is madloom. The Arab woman is madloom. The woman in all other parts of Africa, madluma. The Canadian woman, madloom. The white woman is madloom. Chinese woman is madluma. Women are oppressed. The European woman, American, Canadian, North American woman, she's just a piece of meat. She's a product. Men take advantage of her. In this society, she's oppressed. She's not being dealt with the way Allah Azza wa Jal wants the woman to be dealt with, to be honored and taken care of. And Muslims oppress their women. Saudi Arabian women are madluma. Everywhere you go, the woman is madluma, wherever you go. They get married and they're compelled in who they're going to marry. If they get divorced, they're left like that without getting married again. If she wants to get married, there's no help to help her to get married. Her inheritance are taken away from her. Her dowry is not given to her. She's dealt with rough and tough. She has to get up early in the morning. She has to take the kids to school. She has to come back. She has to clean, cook, iron, and all that for the rest of the people in the house. Then she has to go back and get the kids and bring them from school. And she has no help. She is madluma. So the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with so many examples of how he had rahmah to those women, to the mother, to the daughter, to the sister, to the khala, to the amma, to the ajuz, to the jariyah. So with this case, the fact that he told the people, be sensitive to the two weak people from the community, the abd, the amma, they don't have any rights whatsoever. But the Nabi showed rahmah to them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So although they're not in our society, the way the Nabi dealt with them clearly shows that he's the Nabi of rahmah. He protected and he looked out for the rights of those people who were slaves. Another issue, although slaves are not present now, all you have to do is go to Kenya. I've never been to Somalia, but I would think if you go to Somalia, if you go to different parts of Africa, if you go to Saudi Arabia, we have house help. We have people who help in the house. They're worse than slaves. They're not slaves, but we treat them worse than slaves. Muslims treat the house help worse than slaves. In the UK, there's a program that comes on TV called Dispatches. They do undercover programs when they try to expose different things that are going on in the community. There's a place in London called Edgware Road where a lot of the rich Arabs live, Arabs from the Gulf states. And I'm not saying this because I'm one of those people who have hatred for Arabs, hatred for Saudi Arabians. I don't have that hasad. From them are good people, some of them are bad people. Some good Somalis, bad Somalis. Some good black people, bad black people. I'm just relaying a message to you. They showed the program on the Dispatches where some of the Arabian Gulf state Arabs had house help from Philippines, from Africa, and they were showing the systematic oppression. One lady, the lady who owns the house, the Arab lady, her and her daughter, they broke her back, broke the back. The lady was paralyzed. They used to beat her up until they beat her up so bad, they broke her back. Another lady, some people threw some hot water on her, and then after that threw some hot oil on her. That's on the internet. Just put in Dispatches and put in Arab maids with the Arabs. Crazy things, unbelievable. And these people got money and they won't pay the lady her salary for a year. I have a brother-in-law from Kenya. He went to work in Saudi Arabia, in Medina, to work in Medina. He's thinking he's going to pray in the Prophet's masjid. He's been there a year now. He didn't pray in the masjid one time. Why? Because it's not giving him the opportunity to pray in the masjid, not one time, because he's far away. Where he lives, he doesn't get his money. He winds up that he has to pay. They take out of his salary the money for the istiqdam for him to come. All lies that they made to the person. So don't look at the Arabs. It's not about the Arabs. It's about us. We know people where we come from. The house help worse than the slaves, because they have no rights. The Nabi dealt with them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in a way that clearly this man, he looked after the rights of the du'afa, the muhtajeen, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had 4 slave girls from what his right hands possess. 4 slave girls. One was Maria, the mother of his son Ibrahim. One was a lady named Rayhana. Another one, her name was Jamila. And the 4th one was a slave that his wife Zainab bint Jahsh gave to him as a gift, his right hand possession. He had a number of slave men, and he got along with all of them, to the point that one of his slaves, Zayd ibn Haritha, the Nabi loved him so much, he said, Zayd is my son. If I die, he inherits from me. If he dies, I inherit from him, or he'll inherit from me. And then the rules and regulations of adopting was mentioned in Islam. That was his slave son. He had a slave, his name was Safina. Well, the Nabi called him Safina, which means the ship. And he used to call him Safina because the man was strong. He can carry a lot of stuff. So the Nabi called him Safina, the ship, showing his sense of humor. Another slave, His name was Thoban. Thoban. One thobe. One thobe. This man was Thoban. Two thobes. That's what it means. Two thobes. The Nabi used to say when he wanted to talk to him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wants to talk to him, he said, Ya Thoban. وَلَيْسَ لِكُلِّ أَحَدِ ثَوْبَيْنِ. He said, hey Thoban. And everyone doesn't have two thobes. Joking with the man. He was from the slaves of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Anjasha. Anjasha was a slave as well, and it was his job. From the things that he used to do is he was responsible for the caravan of the women. When they used to travel with the Nabi, he would be in front of them. He was the had. He would make poetry and sing Arabic songs to determine how fast the caravan will go or how slow it will go. Sometimes he would make it go too fast, and the Nabi would say to him, Ya Anjasha, rifqan ruwaydan bil qawarir. Hey Anjasha, slow down. We have the bottles with us. We have the vessels. You're going to break these women if you go too quick. That's him having rahmah for the woman. Don't travel too quickly. Slow down. So Anjasha was from his slaves, radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. How did Islam deal with them? And again, I'm not telling anyone we have slaves today. I'm not saying that. Go get a slave. Nor am I saying that the United Nations has the ability to abrogate slavery. They don't have the ability to make any naskh in al-Islam. But I think it's an issue we should try to learn about, because again, it's a shubha from the shubahat that non-Muslims misunderstand about our religion. How did Islam deal with them, and how did the Nabi deal with them? There was a practice in Jahiliyyah. They used to make money in different ways. One way they used to make money is the riba, usury. They used to make money by highway robbery. They just come and rob you. They used to make money in that if they caught you, you're a free man. If they caught you in the desert, they'd just take you and sell you into slavery. They would make money like that. They used to make money by selling khamr. One of the ways they used to make money was through prostitution. Akramakumullah. How prostitution? A man has a group of slave girls. She would be forced to go out and make zina, and she better bring that money back to her sayyid. The more women he had, and the more women he made do that, the more wealth he had. That was a common practice in Jahiliyyah. The woman had no rights in Jahiliyyah. She didn't even have the right to live. If the father decided to bury his daughter, that was it. She was buried. The Nabi came and stopped that. Gave her the right to get a khula, gave her the right to get a mahr, gave her the right to choose who she wants to marry. The lady, the little girl, the young girl came and said, Ya Rasulullah, my father is forcing me to marry my cousin. He's forcing me. I don't want to marry him. The Nabi told the men, La tujbiru banatikum ala nikah. Don't force your girls to marry those who they don't want to marry. If the girl wants to marry someone and her wali is not cooperating, she has to get him on board. She has to get her father on board. She has to get her wali on board. But if he insists on not cooperating, the Nabi gave her the right. Leave your father and go to the imam of the masjid. Leave your father. And Nabi told the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, la nikah illa bi wali. Wa idha tashajara fal sultan waliyu man la waliya laha. The lady can't get married without the wali. And if her and the wali are fighting, he doesn't want to get in, she can go to the sultan. I'm not telling any girl, leave your father. I say, don't leave your wali. Stay with your wali. And if he insists on making it difficult, do what he tells you to do. Don't go and get married to a man at the expense of losing your wali, your father. Don't do that. But she had rights that the Nabi gave to her. The slave girl didn't have any rights. So there was something that used to happen. The munafiq, the leader of the munafiq, Ubay ibn Sulul, we spoke about him yesterday when the Nabi wanted to pray over him, his enemy. He wanted to pray the Salat of al-Janazah over this munafiq. He was doing something to the slave girls who embraced Islam. They became Muslims, and he kept making them go make zina. And he would threaten them. They had iman. He would threaten them. If you don't go do it, I'm going to take you out. I'm going to kill you. So the girl was compelled. She would go and she would make zina. And the people heard about it. All of the other Muslims, they stopped doing that. It wasn't something they were doing. They know al-iffa, al-sharaf, izzah in Islam, no zina. Even the slave girl, she has honor. So then they stopped. Islam is going against their culture, something they used to do. They stopped, except the munafiqeen. They kept doing it. It was a sign of nifaq. So the man kept doing it. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla revealed the ayat in the Quran, وَلَا تُكْرِهُ فَتِيَاتِكُمْ عَلَى الْبِغَى إِنْ أَرَدْنَا تَحَصُّنًا لِتَبْتَغُوا أَرَضَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَمَنْ يُكْرِهُهُنَّ فِإِنَّ اللَّهَ مِنْ بَعْدِ إِكْرَاهِهِنَّ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Don't force your slave girls to do prostitution when it's clear they want to be virtuous and chaste and upright. Don't make them do that. And if anyone makes them do that, Allah is Ghafur Rahim to those girls. This ayat is an important ayat for other aspects of Islam. It goes to show if you are compelled to do something, Allah is Ghafur Rahim after you did that thing. We have to get insurance for our cars. Insurance is haram. Every type of insurance in the dunya is haram. They're eating people's money without the haqq. But you have to get insurance so that you don't make a bigger problem for yourself. But you have to get the type of insurance where just enough, don't go overboard. So if you're compelled to do something in court, to do something in this country that goes against this deen, you're going to get in trouble. Al-Islam allows you. But you have to have some fiqh and some taqwa in this issue. Let somebody of knowledge help you to determine the level of compulsion. Anyway, this ayat of the Quran clearly shows Al-Islam, the Nabi of Al-Islam, came, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to give rights and protection to the people who didn't have any protection. Stop this thing from happening. When the ayat was revealed, the chief of the munafiqeen, he was upset, but he stopped doing it because it was a clear sign of his hypocrisy, and he didn't want to be exposed to that degree. From the way that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam dealt with these slaves who have no rights was what happened with a companion. His kunya is Abu Mas'ud, and he was from the Ansar. He said one time his slave did something that made him very upset, so he started beating the slave up and he was punching him in his face. And he heard a voice say to him, "I'lam Aba Mas'ud, hey Abu Mas'ud, you need to know." He said, I was so upset I didn't even pay attention to the voice. I didn't know who it was, and I just kept hitting the boy. He said, I heard the voice and it got closer and it said the same thing. Abu Mas'ud, you should know. He said, but I was so upset. He said, then the third time I heard the voice and I looked and it was the Nabi next to me, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said about what I was doing to that boy, "I'lam Aba Mas'ud, inna Allah aqdaru alayka minka ala hadha al-ghulam." Allah has more power over you than you do over that little boy. Come here, little man. This little brother right here, what's your name again? Huh? Ayub, this little brother Ayub, he's my son. I want to take Ayub, who got me upset like some fathers do. I want to choke Ayub and break his neck. I don't think Ayub can do anything to me. Allahu Alam. If Allah wants, anything can happen. But as the father, I'm bigger than him, I'm stronger than him. I'll take Ayub and I will break his neck. And he can't do anything about it, except if Allah shall. The power that I have over this boy, Allah has more power over me than that. So for the one who's hitting his son, for the one who is doing that to his kids, doing that to his wife, this hadith of Abu Mas'ud has to remind you and let you know what you're doing to that person, Allah has more ability to do that to you. More than what you can do. And you may not even be successful in doing that to him. If Allah wants, the boy can overpower you. Bi'idhnillah, it's possible. Abu Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, he said, after that happened, I freed the slave and I never ever hit any of my other slaves. That's the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling an Arab man during that time, hey, don't do that to that man. And how quick the companions were to be affected by the thing that the Nabi used to tell them and the way that he was with them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said, Anas ibn Malik, that the slave girl, the lady, would come in front of all of the people. The hadith said it would take her by the hand, take the Nabi by the hand. But Aisha said that the Nabi never touched any woman who was not his mahram. He never touched her, never hit any woman, never gave the bay'at to any woman who was not his mahram. So if you read that hadith, people want to shake hands with women. He said it is better for you to be hitting your head with an iron pipe than to touch a woman who's haram for you. You're not her mahram. But this hadith said the slave lady would take him by the hand. And Imam al-Nawawi, he mentioned that the meaning of the hadith, when you gather all of the narrations up, that she would take the Nabi by his shirt, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and pull him away from the people and go somewhere and talk to him about her issue. And the Nabi would go, and when he was with her, he wouldn't look back at the men and look at the other. He would look directly at the woman to find out what's her issue, what's her problem, what's her issue. The house help, where we come from. Can you imagine the house help grabbing the father of the house or someone and say, come, let me talk to you about what your wife is doing or what your daughter is doing? I've been to places. I went to Nigeria. And in Nigeria, I was with a wealthy man, and his son was stopping to get a mobile card. And he went to get the mobile card. They have these people in the street who sell the mobile cards. He gave him the card. The guy pulled off and just threw the money out in the street so that the man could just run and pick the money up. Not all Nigerians do that, but that's how we deal with those people. You can't imagine the house help back there pulling or just saying, come here, I need to talk to you about what your wife is doing or my working conditions. That was the ease of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam. We dealt with a hadith earlier today that we didn't do the second half of the hadith. The man who was talking in the salah, Muawiyah ibn al-Hakam as-Sulami. May Allah be pleased with him. When the man sneezed, after the Nabi told him what the masjid was for, he said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm a human being and I get mad and stuff like that. I have a slave girl who was responsible for my sheep, and she became negligent, and the wolf came and it took my sheep and ran off with my sheep and ate my sheep. So I became angry and I slapped that girl, and I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry, I'm telling you, I'm sorry. I messed up in the salah and you taught me in a nice way. The man wants to know, what should I do? I slapped that girl and I'm sorry. The Nabi said, where's the girl? They brought the girl, the slave girl. He said to her, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where is Allah? The girl said, fis sama, over the heavens. He said, who am I? She said, you're Rasulullah. He told the people, told the man, free her. Free this girl. She's a mu'mina. She's a believer. She has the aqeedah of someone of al-iman. The man freed her, just like that. No questions. Ya Rasulullah, that's my money. Why do I have to free her? What was the big deal? He didn't say that. He just freed the girl because the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam stepped in and made shifa' on her behalf. Now this hadith is a critical hadith because this question, where is Allah, is a question that causes problems with some people. Some people don't like the question. Some people will answer Allah is everywhere. Some people don't know the answer. A large portion of this ummah don't know the answer to that question. But that girl won her freedom as a result of replying the correct way. So the point here is the slave girl, how the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam dealt with those people who don't have any rights. What do you think his dealing with the people will be who have rights? His wife, his daughters, people who have rights, his friends who are close to him. This one doesn't have any rights. Easy to oppress him, and he's dealing with them like that. He's going to be gentle with everybody else if that's the case. Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, tremendous companion. He was from the companions who was well known for his zuhd. One of the tabi'een saw Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu. He had on a very nice and expensive jubba, and with him was a slave boy who had on the same similar expensive jubba. He asked Abu Dharr, the companion, what's that about? What's going on? You got these nice clothes on and your slave has the nice clothes on. He's a slave. What's going on? He said, there was a man from the companions. I said some bad words to him. I called him son of a black woman. I put him down because of his color. And the Nabi told me, do you criticize him because of his mother? You're a person of Jahiliyyah. Anytime you criticize someone because of what tribe he comes from, and you look at people like that, you're a Jahil. You're a Jahil. I don't care who you are, and I don't care how much money you have. Islam doesn't care about that. Anyone who looks at a white person and he's racist towards that white person because of the skin color, he's Jahil. And if the white person looks at a black person like that, he's Jahil. Even if he has a PhD. In reality, he's ignorant. This stuff about these tribes, tribe, culture, no problem. They identify who we are. And we hold on to that and we believe in that stuff. But I'm better than someone because they don't have a tribe. That's Jahil. You're Jahil. Because the Nabi said that to Abu Dharr. And he was a companion. You're a person who has some stuff from Jahiliyyah in you. He said, what about the boy? Why is he dressed like that? That's what I want to know. Abu Dharr told the man, again, what Islam said about these slaves. Why the boy dressed like that? He said, because the Nabi told us, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, ikhwanukum khawalakum. جعلهم الله تعالى تحت أيديكم فمن كان أخوه تحت يده فليطعمه مما يأكل وليلبسه مما يلبس ولا تكلفوهم ما يغلبهم وإذا كلفتموهم فأعينوهم. He said, these slaves are your brothers who are under your supervision. Allah put them under your supervision. So anybody who finds his brother under his supervision, let him feed him from what he eats. And let him wear what he wears, the similar clothes. Meaning take care of him with ma'ruf. Doesn't mean every nice clothes you have he has to have. But you're responsible for him. Let him wear what he wears and don't go overboard in what you make him do, the work. And if you give him a lot of work, he said you should help him with the work. You should help him with the work. That's our deen. That's our deen. So Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu, he gave the man the same clothes that he was wearing, doing this hadith exactly. There's a similar hadith to that the Nabi told the people that when your slave brings you some food, tell him sit down and eat the food with me. When he brings you your food, sit down and eat the food. If he says no, he has haya. He's shy. If he says no, the Nabi said, give him some food and let him take it away. That's our Nabi, that's our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam with those slaves who don't have anybody except Allah Azza wa Jal. And the examples of the bondsmen in Islam are many. How the Nabi dealt with them. But one thing we want to get out of your minds. How many of you saw Roots? Because it was a long time ago in the 70s. How many of you saw that movie Roots? Kunta Kinte? That's all? How many of you didn't see Roots? Put your hand up. Well, it was a program about the plight and the history of African Americans from the time they were in Africa as Muslims. They went and caught them, put them in slavery, brought them to America, and it was a story about the man's actual life, Alex Haley, who did the autobiography of Malcolm X. Some people think black people, slavery, black people. And that's not true. That's not true. Suhaib al-Rumi. Suhaib was actually an Arab who grew up in Rome. And he was taken from Rome and he came all the way to Mecca and he was sold as a slave. He was an Arab. Zayd ibn Harith was Arab. So if the Muslims go, for an example, back then, if the Muslims go and they fight their enemy in jihad, real jihad, not this folder stuff. Back then, they fight jihad, they defeat their enemy. After defeating them, what are we going to say to the enemy? We're going to say, okay, you guys go back to where you come from, get strong again, come back and fight us another day. Go back, get strong, come back and get us another day after a year, 2 years. No, they're going to be subdued. So the Nabi told us a characteristic about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, عجب ربكم من أقوام يقادون إلى الجنة في السلاسل. Allah is amazed in a way that befits His Majesty. He has ajab. He's amazed in a way that befits His majesty. He's amazed at a group of people who will go into Jannah and they're in chains. The meaning of that is they were slaves to the Muslim and they became Muslims, but they were still in slavery. And then they died in that situation. They went into Islam, they went into Jannah with chains, meaning they came into Islam, they were slaves, they embraced Islam, and then they died in Islam as slaves. So another point I have to make about this slavery, and it's off the issue, but I have to mention it because it came up in a discussion today. Some people go overboard in the love for the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just recently was the so-called Mawlid of the Nabi. A few weeks ago was the Mawlid. And every year we have to go through the same issue. Is it from Islam, not from Islam? We have to do the khutbah about it. We have to do lessons about it. We start telling our relatives, where's the dalil? And they start fighting back. It is a fact, and on and on and on. Someone was saying that they love the Nabi so much that they don't mind being called the dog of the Nabi. Kalbun Nabi, the dog of the Nabi. And I say, it's not permissible for you to say that. Who wants to be the dog of another human being? Who wants to be the dog? A dog in Mecca can be killed. A dog in Medina can be killed. If you're going to be the khadim of the Nabi, no problem. He was talking, telling us, I'll be the slave of the Nabi, Abdul Nabi. Ya akhi, if you are a free man, you are free. Freedom, hurriya is a ni'mah from Allah. I don't want to be the slave for any Bani Adam. When you're a slave in Islam, when you're a slave, some of your rights are taken away. You don't have the right to make Umrah and Hajj when you want to. You're a Sayyid, determined. You can't get married. You can get married to 2 women if you're a slave, that's it. You don't even have control of your own time. So being the slave of the Nabi, that's not al-fakhr, and that's not something that is from our religion. You shouldn't want to be the slave to any Bani Adam. But if I had to be a slave, if I had to lose my freedom, then if it was lost to any Nabi, that's less than anything else. But I don't want to be a slave of anybody other than Allah. Our servitude, our ubudiyah is only for Allah. Whether that's in worship or whether that is in just dealing with the people. So the point here about this particular lesson, Ikhwani, back to the square, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wasallam came with a religion, and from our religion is slavery, but it's not being practiced right now, and I don't want anybody to leave this masjid and say that guy is telling the people that there's slavery and we should have slavery. I'm not telling you that. I'm taking a picture out of the history of what took place during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, showing us clearly the way that he used to deal with them. And there are some other examples, but we're going to open up the floor now for many of the questions that the brothers had before. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to accept it from us and to accept it from you. So there were a lot of brothers when I was going out again, they had those questions. And they made me late for something. So now if you brothers have any questions or even corrections, we'll be more than happy to entertain that. Akhi, Muzay. In the khutbah, we talked about some of the etiquettes that we need to know about taking care of the secrets. And there was an incident in which the Nabi, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whispered something in the ear of his daughter Fatima, and she began to cry. And then he whispered something else in her ear, and she began to laugh. And then he got up and he left. Aisha, the mother of the believers, and the scholar from the companions came and said, "What did he tell you? What was the secret?" And Fatima said, "Wallahi, I'm not going to reveal the secret of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam." And she didn't tell Aisha. The Nabi died. After the death of the Nabi, Aisha still remembered the secret. Radiyallahu anha wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina. Aisha came and said to Fatima, I ask you by the haqq of the mother, the haqq that I have over you. I'm asking you by that haqq. What was the secret? What was it? Fatima told Aisha, he told me at first that Jibril used to come and visit him once every Ramadan to go over the Quran. But this year, he visited him 2 times. And the Nabi understood from that, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he was going to die this year. When I heard that, I started crying. And then he told me, how do you feel, Fatima? What do you think? That you're going to be the Sayyid of the Nisa in all of the worlds? And then I started to smile about that. Why did she reveal the secret after the death of the Nabi? Isn't that still revealing the secret? It's not considered to be revealing the secret as such anymore, not where she's blameworthy or not where she can be criticized. As the scholars who explain that hadith, first of all, Aisha asked her by the haqq of the mother. So there are some hadith that tell us, if you're asked by Allah, then do it. Someone asks you by Allah, then do what he's asking you if you have the ability to do it. He wants $100 from you, $200. And he says, I ask you by Allah, can I borrow it? You should give it to him if you have it. Now, if you don't have it, you don't have to give it to him. But you should give it to him, because that's how you look at Allah. Someone has the nerve and the audacity to ask you for something for Allah. I ask you this by Allah. Then if you got the right aqidah, give it to him. And similar to that is, she's asking her by the rights of the mother. That's the wife of the Nabi. She's the al-Mu'mineen. And you can see it was a serious thing. And what she divulged wasn't the type of secret that's going to make any problems. It wasn't a secret that the Nabi said, don't tell anybody. But the fact that he told her secretly, he didn't raise his voice, no one else heard it. She had the ijtihad and she revealed the secret, and that's the reason why, so she's not blameworthy at all. Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, was known as the one who kept the secret of the Nabi, and the secret that he had was he knew the names of the munafiqeen. This was something that was just known amongst the people. This was something that was just known amongst the people. They knew that he was a man who was ameen, trustworthy, and one of the proofs of that is that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam left that secret with him. So it was something that was just mashhur amongst the people that he lived with, and Allah knows best. Where are all those people right now? No more questions, ikhwani? Tfaddal. Tfaddal, ya akhi. Tfaddal. Why did Hudayfa tell Umar, you're not from the munafiqeen, if he was supposed to keep the secret? Well, there's no secret to anyone that Umar is not from the munafiqeen. Everybody from the companions knew and knows that Umar is not from the munafiqeen. By Umar asking that question, everybody knows. This is a sign of the humility of Umar. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told the lady when she came and said, Ya Rasulullah, if I come and I don't find you, what should I do? What should I do? He told the lady, Iqtadi billadhaini min ba'di, Abi Bakr wa Umar. Follow the 2 people after me, Abu Bakr and Umar. He told the whole ummah, Iqtadu billadhaini min ba'di. All of you follow Abu Bakr and Umar. So how could he be a munafiq? All of them knew that. Everybody knew. So he's not revealing any secret that Umar is not from the munafiqeen. But it's clear that Umar radiallahu anhu was an individual who, again, was humble. He was an individual who knew his position, but at the same time, he had that type of fear. And Allah knows best. Little brother. Was Hudayfa a munafiq? Not Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman by the Lord of the Kaaba. He wasn't a munafiq. Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman was from the companions who was virtuous. He was a companion and his father was a companion as well. He was a companion and his father was a companion as well. How can the shabab in this place or any other place prevent themselves from falling into the fitna of the shahwa that comes naturally? From what the Nabi mentioned is to get married if you have the ability to get married. And if he doesn't have the ability to get married, then he should fast as much as he possibly can fast in the Islamic way and on the Islamic days to cause his desires to be weakened. He should spend his time in a wise way. Take his mind off of those issues. Become preoccupied with other things, whether they're religious, meaning getting knowledge, coming to the masjid, going to give dawah and all of that stuff, or other things, visiting his relatives, whatever is going to keep your mind off of that issue. Don't allow yourself to be put in the grips of the shahwa. For an example, avoid that stuff from the internet. It's easily accessible and available. And if the young man is feeling that desire that is natural and he's feeding it through the internet, it's going to get worse. So he has to avoid that or at all costs. Got to stay away from pornography. Has to stay away from those movies of the lewd nature. So he can't put himself in harm's way. Be around those people who are going to remind him and to help him to remember Allah and be far, far away from those things. And we can't fail to mention to you making a lot of dua and also avoid certain foods. Don't eat Pakistani food. Don't eat food that's real hot. Don't eat a lot of shatta. And At-Tib al-Nabawi, al-Imam ibn al-Qayyim said that the shatta tuharrak al-shahwa. You eat hot food, it make your shahwa more. So eat cold food, eat cold water, drink cold water, take it easy. So we make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal to help our shabab, the boys and the girls. And that's another thing, ikhwani, that we can't fail to mention. A lot of time, our focus is upon the boys. The Nabi told us, An-Nisa shaqa'iqur rijal. The women are the twins to the men. Everything that men are subjected to, women are subjected to. Fadl ibn Abbas, he was known from the companions for being handsome. On the day of Al-Hajj, he was on the animal of the Nabi and a beautiful lady came to ask for a fatwa. She was going to ask the question. The Nabi looked at the lady, and then he looked at his cousin Fadl, and he was looking at the lady. The Nabi turned his face away from the lady. And then he looked again, the Nabi turned his face. He looked again, he turned his face. He gave the fatwa and the lady left. The father of Al-Fadl, Abbas, the uncle of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, "Why did you do that to your cousin?" The Nabi said, "I saw a young man who's handsome looking at a young lady who was beautiful, And he was able to describe her as being beautiful because she didn't have niqab on. I saw a young lady who was beautiful, and I wasn't secure that there wouldn't be fitna between them. He's a fitna for her, she's a fitna for him. So our daughters, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, our young daughters, the father has a religious responsibility. Don't just focus on your son. The same shahwa and feelings that your son is going through, your daughters are going through that stuff as well. The music, the popular culture, her people, her friends in school, all of that. Even the nice girl, even the girl with hayat, the nice girl, is something that is inside of Bani Adam and it's from their fitrah. So we have to deal with them in a way where we address it in a good way. The mother is sitting with her. The mother is on top of it. The mother is finding out what's going on, taking care of that issue. Don't just leave it and act like it's never going to happen to you or can't happen to you. Something that we have to address. So I think it's a good question that the brother asked, and it's connected to what we mentioned before. Be connected to these shabab. May Allah make it easy for you, shabab. May Allah make it easy for you. The what? The Nabi told us sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the day of al-Jum'ah there is an hour in which the dua is accepted. Anybody who makes dua on Jum'ah day, it will be accepted. He didn't give us the exact time. He didn't make the tahdeed, the exact time of that hour. It's like Laylatul Qadr. We know the approximate time is in the last 10 nights and one of the odd nights, but which one? There's some dalil that suggests this. It could be the 21st, it could be 23rd, 25th, 27th. Strong dalil, it could be 27th, and the dalil, it could be the 29th. No one can come and say it was this for sure. And this is similar to that same mas'ala. So some scholars said it's when the imam sits down. Some scholars said it's after the imam finishes. Some scholars say it's the hour before Salat al-Maghrib. Some scholars say it's after the Fajr first comes in. So there's ikhtilaf. So the point is, try to make as much dua as you possibly can on the day of al-Jum'ah, because no one can come and emphatically state with dalil it's at this particular hour. And Allah knows best. Let somebody else go, my man, and then I'll come back to you, or I'll talk to you later. All right? Any more questions, Ikhwani? Okay, I'm going to read these and then we're going to call it a day, inshallah. Sorry, off topic, but who are the type of people? Person wants to know who are the type of the people who will get the shade of Allah on the day of judgment. He said that is 7 people. The young boy who grew up in the young boy or girl, the young person who grew up in the obedience of Allah. The man whose heart was connected to the masjid. He spent a lot of time in the masjid. 2 people who loved each other for the sake of Allah. They came together on that love and because of that love, and they departed because of that love. Another man who gives sadaqah secretly, to the point that when he gives it, his left hand doesn't know what his right hand gives. Another man is the man who his eyes shed tears from the fear of Allah. He hears the Quran, so forth and so on. And the 7th and final man is the man who was enticed by a woman, her beauty. She wanted to make zina, and he liked the way she was looking, but he said, I fear Allah. He had the ability, he could have done it, but he said, I fear Allah, I'm not going to do it. No one would have known about it. He used to do it, he stopped doing it. Nobody knew about him, he stopped doing it. Those 7 people will be shade in the shade of Allah Azza wa Jalla that comes as a result of his arush, Yawm al-Qiyamah. In sajda, are we not allowed to make Quranic du'as? There's a prohibition that the Prophet ﷺ said, don't read the Quran in sajda. Don't read the Quran when you are in sajda. The wisdom for that, Allah knows best. It's an authentic hadith. This person, the last 2-3 questions, this person is saying here, you mentioned that there are sects within this ummah, like Sufi and Shiite and things like that, but by your knowledge, how many sects are there now? Have we reached the 73 number? Are we below the number? There are more than 73 sects in Al-Islam. More than 73 sects in Al-Islam. You have the one sect that is the Sage sect, the Firqat al-Najiyah. The people are doing the right thing. May Allah make us of them. From them are the ulama, from them are righteous people, from them who their aqeedah is correct. They may make mistakes, but they know Islam. They can reference everything that they're doing and say, I'm doing this based on this ayat and this hadith, and the companions understood it like this. They're from the same sect if you're like that. And then you have the 72 other sects doing all kinds of stuff. Those 72 sects have many subdivisions. Many subdivisions. Over 500 sects in Al-Islam. So the hadith that says that the ummah will break up into 72 sects doesn't mean there are only 72 sects. More than 72. Shiite have a lot of type of Shiitism. Sufis, a lot of Sufism. A lot of sects in Al-Islam. It's more than 72. Our job is just to avoid all of them and just to stay on the line that the Nabi drew for his companions. These are the last 2 questions here. Can we say mother of, I'm not sure what that's saying. White people in some masjids, people that close to each other, the imam is the finger to his finger and he swallow his shoulder. I can't understand this writing. White people in some masjids, people that close and other will swallow the finger and the shoulder. I can't read that, man. I can't read that. Anyway, Ikhwani, I just want to thank the brothers from the administration here at Masjid KBW for affording me this opportunity to come deal with this issue amongst you brothers and you sisters about the rahmah that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed to his community. And finishing this, the goal and the objective of all of this is for us to know, number one, who our Nabi is. Come to know who the Prophet is. Don't go overboard and don't fall under the line. Know who he is. Don't go overboard and attribute to him that which he didn't allow for himself and that which Allah doesn't allow. And don't go under as well. Don't be indifferent about him and his sunnah and his religion. The other goal and the objective today was to get you to understand that we can't be the reason why non-Muslims don't like the Nabi, don't like the religion of the Nabi. Somalis in particular. The whole world is looking at Somalia. The whole world. And whether we accept it or not, whether we reject it or not, people are going to say, if these people were on the truth, why are they doing like this? Whether you like it or not, that's a fact. People of Mecca are the same way. If Arabs from Saudi Arabia, from Mecca came here and they were drinking and they were doing crazy things, people are going to say, hey, you people are from Mecca. You people are from Medina. How and why are you doing that? That's just a fact. So this series was about what? Let's not give ammunition and fodder to non-Muslims to hate the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam by blowing up people, killing people, having gangs, getting in gangs fight, the violence that our children are into. And if those things happen, let the masjid administration come out loud and clear. Loud and clear. These are situations that are happening because of the social problems that our youth are experiencing. But our religion is free from that. Our Nabi is, we have to make that clear. That's a responsibility. That's one of the goals and the objectives of this thing, this talk. Defend the Nabi and not be a cause for people to hate him. Another issue, Ikhwani, is obviously his high level of akhlaq. Inna min aqrabikum ilayya majlisan wa ahabbakum ilayya yawm al-qiyamah ahasinakum akhlaqa. Those people who will be closest to me yawm al-qiyamah, those people who I love the most yawm al-qiyamah, are the people who have the best akhlaq. These talks were about us having mercy between ourselves, taking it easy, and stop being rough and tough with each other. Stop being rough and tough with the jahil, with the mubtadi, the new Muslim, even the mubtadi, the innovator, who's innovating because he doesn't know what he's doing. Stop being rough and tough. Stop neglecting people with special needs, handicapped people, the youngsters from amongst us, our elders, our relatives, our sisters, daughters, nieces, aunties, aunts. Between the brotherhood of Islam, the rahmah that the companions had and the Nabi had for them, this is what this was all about. And we ask Allah Ta'ala to accept it from us and from you. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Is that me or the air conditioner is on? Air conditioner is on, huh? I don't think. Walaikum salam. All right, my man? Assalamu alaikum.